language of Donald Trump. He called the caravans of immigrants coming to the U.S., he called them invaders, just like Donald Trump. And the same with the man who went down to El Paso and shot 22 Latinos. He too echoed the language of Donald Trump, calling immigrants and migrants and asylum seekers and children invaders. And then he opened fire. This is America 2019. This is fascism unfolding. And there is no savior coming to stop this fascism. There is no savior in the Democratic Party who's going to stop this. They tell you to wait till 2020. They tell you to wait. They tell you to wait for the impeachment process. They tell you to wait. But the fascists are not waiting. They're out in the streets marching and killing and taking away people's rights. They're in the halls of power right now. They're in the courts. They're making changes. So we cannot wait. And let's be clear, these fascist Republicans, they're not respecting the impeachment process. What did they do just a few days ago? They marched into the hearings and stopped them. They marched in like a mob of fascists that they are. They're making clear they're not going to respect the rule of law. They're not going to respect the impeachment process. Who in their right minds thinks that this fascist regime will respect it if they are voted out in 2020? Trump says it all the time. He'll be here 4 more years, 8 more years, 16 more years. This is a fascist regime, and it is up to the people to drive it from power. So today we're going to have a speak out here. And we're calling on people who are stepping into this movement to come up and share why. Why it is that we are joining a struggle. Not a protest as usual, just for one day and go home. Not a protest to get something off our chest so that then we can feel a little better while we veg out and watch Netflix and go about our lives. But a protest that comes back week after week across the country, that calls forward others off the sidelines, that wakes up the students and gets them into the streets with us, that wakes up people to do it except for us. No one is going to do it except for us and the people that we go out and get. So we're going to have a rally here today. We're going to have a speak out. We're going to hear from each other about why different people are stepping into this movement. People from different backgrounds, people with different outlooks, people with different experience. Many of whom who have never been in a protest before, but who recognize this is a special moment, and we are called on to do extraordinary things.
New York City, how you feeling? Last weekend in Los Angeles and here in New York City, we launched a movement, the Out Now movement, to drive this Trump-Pence regime out of power. How many people were there who are back here today? Raise your hand if you were out last week. This is important. This matters. It matters if people come out to be counted, to stand up. And I want to say that right now we are in a historic time in history where what we do matters for people all over the world. We are living in a time where fascists stormed the impeachment hearings. Congress people went and disrupted the impeachment hearings. We are living in a time where fascist mobs are running the streets, killing people in synagogues, locking children up in cages. And last weekend in Santa Monica, they bear sprayed our people. But we say we are not going to back down. When we speak out, they are going to try and silence us. When we march, they are going to try to stop us. But we are going to not back down, and we speak for the majority here and around the world that in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. Every one of you here, you represent a mother who's had her child locked away, torn away from her. Every single person here, you represent a sister whose brother was murdered by a white supremacist police officer, a thug with a gun and a badge. Every single person here, you represent the people in Bangladesh who are going to suffer from climate change. So we have to be strong. We have to be strong together. And this movement is not a business as usual protest. This is a movement where we're going to start every Saturday. And we're going to go every Saturday. And today these protests have now gone nationwide. They're doing it in Atlanta today. They're doing it in Cleveland. They're doing it in Chicago. I heard from a woman in Fruitvale, Idaho last night who said, "Where's the protest near me?" We need a nationwide movement, and people are in Washington, D.C. today as well. So it matters what we do. We're going to do like what they did in Puerto Rico. Did you see what they did in Puerto Rico? Did they come out and protest one day and say, "Okay, I'm going to go home"? It took them 15 days to drive out their governor. Why aren't we doing that here? The protest that was right behind me was a protest to support the millions of people in Chile who are rising up against their dictator. It's not that complicated. You set aside your BS and you come in the streets and you don't leave until your demand is met. Do you feel me? Because we have two choices. We're either going to accept fascism or people are going to join the Out Now movement. There's only two choices. Either we're going to sit back and hope and wait, and we can see what's happened from the people who didn't like this. We know there's millions of people who don't like this. But have you guys seen what has happened in the past 3 years while people have sat back and not taken to the streets with this demand? Children in concentration camps, massacres in churches. We have to tell people today straight up, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Are you on the side of Donald Trump? Are you on the side of Mike Pence? Are you on the side of a fascist America? Then you have to be in the streets. You have to act. Am I right? Because if you're not acting, you're on the wrong side. If you're sitting at home and waiting, you're on the wrong side. If you're sitting at home and saying, "Oh, I'm going to let the elections take care of it," it doesn't matter if you don't like Donald Trump. You are on the wrong side. And everyone here, you guys are on the right side. But I want everyone together. We are people of diverse perspectives. Look around you. Look at the diversity. We come from different backgrounds, different languages, different walks of life. But we've come together under the common recognition that the Trump-Pence regime must go now. And so raise your fist and let's do this pledge together. Let's do this pledge together. In the name of humanity.
In the name of humanity.
We refuse.
We refuse.
We refuse.
We refuse.
To accept.
To accept.
A fascist America.
A fascist America.
Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence out now.
We won't back down.
We won't back down.
We won't go home.
We won't go home.
In the streets until they're gone. In the streets until they're gone. In the streets until they're gone.
We must act. We must use our youth, our voices, our platform for good. We cannot wait any longer. We cannot press the like button, the share button, and think that something is gonna happen. We have to stand right here. You have to tell everyone you know to act now. We cannot wait one more day with what is happening in this country and in the world. This is serious. This is nothing to go to bed thinking about. This is something to stay up all night working towards. We need to spread the word. And I encourage all of my young colleagues to tell everyone they know about this, to not silence themselves, not let others be silent. We know most of you agree. I know most of the people walking down this street probably agree with what I'm saying. But will they do anything? Will they stand here? Will they march with us? I encourage you, join us.
How many of you guys have relatives and neighbors who are sickened by what he's doing? Okay, we have to go to them, just like Antonio was just talking about. We have to go to them and we have to challenge them. Look, if you took a poll in this country, look at this picture. This brother's holding up this picture of the children in the cages. If you took a poll in this country, most people would say that is horrific. That's got to stop. But most people who feel that way are going along. And we have to tell them it doesn't count. Your anger doesn't count. Your disapproval doesn't count. Your disgust with that does not count if you are not part of stopping it. And there is one way to stop it. There is one way to stop it. It's not waiting for 2020. It's not waiting for the Democrats to conduct their impeachment. Just like it wasn't waiting for Mueller. The time of waiting for somebody else to stop this fascism is over. The time of waiting and telling yourself it's somebody else's problem is over. That is immoral. And it is collaboration. 2.5 years in, nobody can say they don't know what's happening. We have to tell them it's good to be outraged. Now get your ass in the streets with us because we have to make history. We have to stop this nightmare. We have to wake up our neighbors and friends, and we have to rally and drive them from power. People are doing it around the world, and we have got to do it here, and we can do it here. And I want to say it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see you guys here. We need to grow. We need to gather others, but we are in the right place. And in a moment like this, a small group of people with clarity and moral conviction who put their bodies on the line and do what's right can wake up and move many others. But we have to get to know each other, and we have to go to work on this together. So this is why we're having this speak out today. We want you to hear from yourselves and from each other.
I want my country back. This is not my country. This is not what we grew up, thought our forefathers had in mind for us. Time to take it to the streets. We've done it before. We're going to do it again. And I support Marianne Williamson for president.
My name is Lucy Pagoda Quesada. I am from Honduras, but I'm also a citizen of the United States. And I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. Been teaching for 23 years, so I'm a member of the UFT as well. And I could tell you that my country, Honduras, is a direct victim of this fascist regime of Donald Trump and his gangsters like Pence. Donald Trump and his gangsters like Pence is supporting in Honduras a narco dictator called Juan Orlando Hernandez. And since 2009, the United States government has been supporting in Honduras narco dictators led by the National Party after they destituted President Manuel Zelaya from power via a U.S. military coup. And they're doing that with our tax money that I pay as a teacher here, tax money that I pay as a worker in this country. This is the type of dictators that Donald Trump is supporting there. Dictators that are killing our people, thousands of Honduran people. The U.S. government has a lot of Honduran blood in their hands. A lot of Honduran blood, like the blood of Berta Cáceres. You probably remember her. She was an environmentalist from Honduras who was murdered because of the support of the U.S. in Honduras. This is the type of dictators and violent people that they're supporting. And this is why the people of Honduras are leaving in masses in these so-called caravans. You've seen the caravans. You've seen how many people, families, children, pregnant women, Black people, LGBT people, they're all leaving Honduras massively because of the kind of violence that the U.S. government, today headed by Donald Trump and his gangs and his gangsters like Pence, is supporting there. So this is why today I'm here to say, out with Trump and out with Pence. Out with Trump and out with Pence. Very briefly, en español, muy brevemente, le puedo decir que yo soy hondureña y que yo soy testigo de lo que el gobierno de Estados Unidos está haciendo en nuestros países. apoyando narcodictaduras como la de Juan Orlando Hernández, cuyo hermano acaba de ser sentenciado en una corte de aquí de Nueva York por traficar toneladas de cocaína hacia Estados Unidos. Y el gobierno de Donald Trump lo está apoyando. Este es el tipo de gobiernos violentos que el gobierno de Estados Unidos, liderado por Donald Trump, está apoyando allá. Gobiernos, dictaduras que nos reprimen, que nos matan, como asesinaron a nuestra líder medioambientalista Berta Cáceres, que ustedes quizás recuerdan. Este es el tipo de violencia que está expulsando a nuestra gente. Masivamente, por miles y miles salen de Honduras en lo que llaman las caravanas. Estos no son inmigrantes, son personas desplazadas, son refugiados, que ha creado el gobierno de los Estados Unidos y gobiernos fascistas como el gobierno de Donald Trump. Por eso hoy estoy aquí como testigo y como voz de mi pueblo de Honduras, diciendo: fuera Juan Orlando Hernández, fuera Donald Trump y fuera sus gángsters, que basta ya de apoyar el fascismo en América Latina y basta ya de imponernos el fascismo aquí en Estados Unidos también. Y como pueblo trabajador tenemos que unirnos en contra de ellos. ¡Fuera los fascistas! ¡Fuera los fascistas! De América Latina y de Estados Unidos. Muchas gracias por escucharme y que viva el pueblo de Honduras en resistencia. Y el pueblo de Estados Unidos también en resistencia. Resistimos y vamos a vencer, compañeros y compañeras. Gracias.
White supremacy is not an American issue. It's a global issue. So many people have died and been hurt by this system. And it's a time to put a stop to it. Just like the Hondureña that was just here. Just like the tribes in the Amazon that have died. And all these wealthy, careless people are not doing anything but sitting in their big buildings. We need to do something. We can't put our trust in politicians. We have to put the trust in us. Trust your ideas, and that's why I'm here just talking. Trump Pence out now.
I don't think I have to say anything. I agree. That was great.
Trump Pence out now. Put your fists up here. Put your fists up. Trump Pence out now. Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence out now.
Trump Pence on out, yeah.
I mean, the actual organized fascists, white supremacists, came to that rally with huge American flags on sticks. And they taunted our rally. And they said, you want a civil war, we'll give you a civil war. We're not looking for a civil war. We're trying to stop a fascist America, but they are trying to start a civil war. And they came out, and when our people went to the Santa Monica Pier to do a die-in, listen up, this is very heavy. These fascists assaulted them. They tackled them. They knocked them to the ground. They took out toxic bear spray, which is like pepper spray, but for bears, and sprayed it directly into people's eyes and faces and mouths. Sent several of them to the hospital. This was an attack on a peaceful, non-violent protest. This is part of fascism coming to America. This is part of fascism, and it's the mobs that attacked our protest in LA, and it's the Republican mob that stormed the impeachment hearing and said, no one is going to stand in the way. No law, no rule is going to stand in the way of Trump terrorizing the world and imposing his program. So when I was telling somebody about this, somebody told me, well, look, if you organize another protest, you have to let people know that they're risking something when they come out. They're taking their lives into their hands to stand up and protest. You got to be honest with people. And I think you do have to be honest with people. There is a risk in standing up to fascism, and it can be scary. But I want to be really honest with people and say there's a bigger risk in not standing up. If you come out, you're taking a risk for yourself. But if you do not stand up and join the struggle to drive out a fascist America, you are risking other people's lives. You are risking the lives of those in the concentration camps right now. You are risking the lives of the migrants fleeing Honduras, and Guatemala and other countries that have been devastated by what the U.S. government has done to their homelands. If you do not stand up, you are risking the lives of Latinos who are being hunted right now and shot and killed, and Jewish people in their synagogues. We have to stand up because we need to think about humanity first, not ourselves first, not our comfort first, not ourselves and our families first, but humanity first. And let me tell you, the idea that your life and your comfort is more important than the future of humanity is a disgusting idea. It is a disgusting idea, and that's not who we are, and that's not who we want to be, and we have to wake up and move a lot of other people because it's not who they should be either. We have the power to drive out this regime. There are many, many people who feel, like the young people who just spoke, that the whole world is at stake, and it is. So we have to become a movement that works together to go rally them. And this protest is happening across the country today in 13 cities. And we're coming back next weekend. And we need all of you here next weekend with us, but also many more. We need to work to get them here with us every weekend, growing and growing. That is the Out Now movement. That is the demand that unites us. Out now. This fascist regime, out now.
This is all about you. I am a retired educator from the New York public school system, 39 years, and we never taught each of you the most important thing is to stand up for what is right. When you see something, you're supposed to stand up and say something. Why are so many sitting at home not saying what needs to be said? Out now, Pence, out now. I don't even want to name 45. That's when I was born, 1945. I will remember that number forever as we unify and take this 45 out of the Oval Office along with all of his cabinet members who sit along and watch the inhumane way they treat one another because they have been allowed to be bullies. That's what our schools are full of, little bullies who grow up to be like 45. A big bully who has the audacity to say he can shoot anyone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Why? Because you do not stand up and say no more 45 and take hashtag out now. And all of you, get your families, stand up so that your young children, like these young persons who are starting, I'm so proud of them, starting this movement, challenging us, which is why I am here at 74 years of age, telling you, you must stand up, you must challenge, and you won't get anywhere if you sit at home and don't do anything. You must stand up. Out now, out now, out now, out now, out now, out now.
Where's he go?
Let me say first off, let me say hello to you, and let me acknowledge the brother Carl Dix, as well as a brother that was here with us last week who couldn't make it today, the Honorable Dr. Cornel West. You all know him, and that's one of my brothers. And everybody knows that Dr. Cornel is real about it. Let me just start by asking all of you, because I believe in unity. And for us to complete the mission that we need to stop the hate that is being spewed by an individual that got elected because we weren't on our job to make sure an individual like that doesn't get elected. Anybody in New York knows what he did against the Central Park Five. Okay, he wasn't even a politician, and he took out a full-page ad to demand the execution of children that didn't even commit a crime. Do you remember that? So I have to ask you to repeat after me. And I have to ask you to say, we are North Americans against a police state. Follow me on this. We are North Americans against a police state. I'm only going to take up a little bit more of the time, but I want you to know, what I want you to know is this, okay? The Bill of Rights says one thing, and that one thing says you, as an individual that came out of the birth canal, no matter what color you are, no matter where you came from, how much money you got, okay, your inalienable rights have to say, at least if we stand on this line, if we stand on this land, that was once owned by a Native American, and to this day, right now, in some areas of this country, a Native American cannot walk the streets without an ICE agent rolling up on him and telling him he has to go back to the reservation. And he may not even never lived on the reservation. And those laws exist today in Arizona. So I'm bringing that up to say this, okay? We have to stop this fascist regime that Mike Pence and Donald Trump are facilitating. Nobody's talking about the burial ground that they found in Suarez, Texas, full of Mexican immigrants, and nobody talks about that they found over 100 bodies in that burial ground right here today, okay, in relation to this. I also want to mention the woman that just spoke about Honduras. I personally spoke to the son of the former president of Honduras. And he said to me, he said, you know, when they arrested my father for supposedly selling cocaine, but he bought the cocaine from the CIA, they also arrested his friend. His friend owned 40% of the businesses in Honduras. So I ask you, if tomorrow you woke up and they arrested Bill Gates, and they said everybody that worked for Microsoft would be out of a job, what do you think would happen? That's why those people at Honduras are down there at the border of Mexico, and nobody's talking about it because it doesn't fit into Trump's goddamn rhetoric. So let's get out there, let's march, let's go to his goddamn palace and let him know that he's out. He's out. If we don't impeach him, he will be voted out in 2020 because the North Americans and police state will start a voting rally and start a voting drive to get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out.
Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House. Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House.
It's up to us to drive them out.
Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House.
It's up to us to drive them out.
Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House.
It's up to us to drive them out.
Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House.
It's up to us to drive them out.
Who is it up to?
Us.
Who is it up to?
Us.
Who is it up to?
Us.
Out now. Out now.
Look, we are doing the most important thing that people could be doing today, right here, right now. A part of a movement growing to drive out this fascist regime. Look, no matter where you're coming from, this is what's needed to be done. Imagine if Trump and Pence and DeVos stay in the White House. Imagine what that could mean for our youth. They're trying to bring Christian theocracy into the White House. They're trying to get rid of women's right to abortion. They're trying to erase LGBTQ people. Look at how many trans people have been murdered since Trump has been in the White House. Look at how many immigrant children have been hounded and treated as if they're less than human. Look at how many people whose lives have been destroyed and who are going under. Imagine this, but put on 1,000. This is what's being unleashed. We're seeing glimpses of this in the streets. We saw this in Charlottesville a few years ago when Heather Heyer was murdered. Protesters came out righteously to
go up against and say, no, we don't want the Klan coming back, and a white supremacist drove his car straight through the protest. We saw in El Paso, 22 Latino people shot down and murdered in a Walmart. This is what Trump, the lynch mob leader-in-chief, has been unleashing. This is what we are being called on to stop. This is what we're stopping right here, right now, calling on others to be a part of. And look, I want to say, this ugly monstrosity came out of the workings of this system, a capitalist imperialist system which has been a danger to humanity. The woman came up earlier was talking about Honduras. Look, there was a coup that in 2009, it was under the Obama presidency, and some of this was being unleashed. This is a system which doesn't care about the people of the world and which has now brought us all out fascism. They don't give a damn about humanity. That's why it's taken 3 years for Pelosi to say something. That's why it's taken 3 years for this to come down. And now we have an opening, we have a shot to drive them out of power, and we gotta take this. We gotta take this to where it needs to go. And look, I wanna call on people to actually get into the roots and the basis of where this is coming from, because we can't be deterred that not everybody's with us right now. We gotta go out there because look, people have their heads up their asses. Let's be honest. How many people do we know who should be out here today? I know, that's what I'm saying. We gotta wake people up. We gotta shake society up. And I wanna call on people, you gotta get into the leader of the revolution. Baba Vakian. He's someone who's done a lot of work on why it is that we're facing this fascism, and has also brought forward a whole new understanding of human emancipation. People can check this out on revcom.us. Come talk to me, come talk to anybody who's in this Revolution Nothing Less t-shirt. But we gotta be going forward to build this movement, to drive out this regime. And for everyone who doesn't wanna go back, to the days in which the police were allowed to go forward and murder black and brown people, who don't want to go back to the days in which people were told to go along with this whole imperialist system. People who want to go forward to a whole different kind of world that we haven't been before. I'm talking about a world without borders, a world where women, men, and differently gendered people are treated as equals and comrades. If you want to see that kind of world, you got to get with the revolution. You got to learn about this leader, get with this movement. And we're going to be with you here every step of the way. So let's go forward and drive out this fascist regime.
Thank you. I'm a mother, a grandmother, and I'm an immigrant. I came to this country because it was offering me democracy, opportunity, and I got it. I'm in a wheelchair, and I got it. I live well, I have everything I need. And everybody in this country has the right to have the same. This government, this Pence-Trump government, is just taking all away from us. I born in Argentina. I grew up seeing how a dictatorship forms. And that's what I see now. They are taking our rights, our choices, our opportunities, each by each, all the time. Every morning I wake up and they are attacking another right. I could say, well, now they are after the blacks. I'm not black, who cares? They are not gonna bother me. Or they are attacking the Muslims. I'm not Muslim, who cares? They are not attacking me. But then, one day it's gonna be the Latins. Oh, I'm a Latin. They are after me, and there is nobody going to defend me. And we are gonna lose our right to defend, to get together and to protest and try to demand the things that are our rights. So Trump, Pence, they have to go now. There is no option for us to wait one more day. And we have to be here every Saturday
waiting and all reunited. We are people from all walks of life. We have different ideas, different religion, different color scheme. It doesn't matter. We have the right to be here. We have the right to have all the opportunities that everybody has. Why we have to give up, to give to the 1% of people in this government? These are two clowns that are there to distract us, to fill us with hatred. So meanwhile, they are robbing us from everything that we care. Trump and Pence must out now, right now. Thank you.
What's up, y'all? I'm Sable. I came all the way from Brooklyn, and I work in the film industry. I'm a mama, and I'm an organizer with Refuse Fascism. I'm not going to run down the long list. Everybody's been speaking to the different things that, the atrocities of this regime. But I just need to say there's one thing that's always on my mind daily, and it leaves a pit in my stomach, and I know it does to most of you here and people who aren't here. And that's what's happening at the border. And I think about these children who are being ripped from their parents, and breastfeeding babies ripped from their mothers, and these men and women who are in these very small spaces that, are small. They should be a third of them in there, and they sleep in shifts, and they sleep on concrete floors, and they use foil blankets, and they run from temperatures that are ice cold, they call it the ice box, to super hot conditions with no showers, no toothbrushes, girls on their periods with no sanitary napkins, bleeding through their clothes. Parents are getting shipped back to whatever country they fled from, while their children are being shipped alone and scared to cities around this country, and sometimes even being adopted. This is kidnapping. I'm not okay with it. I can't go on while this is happening like it's not happening. Anyone who makes an excuse for this type of stuff, I don't want to have anything to do with. Anyone who makes this type of thing a law should not be in charge of shit. Right. And this is what I'm thinking about on a daily. And I've been going to protests since he was elected. I went to the inauguration protest, the Women's March, all the women's marches, the climate march, the March for Science, the impeachment rallies, We the People. I've been to them all. And when I go to them, I feel great. And I'm so happy to see so many other people who are as angry and sad and determined and know that they can't just stay in the house and they need to come out and say something and be heard. But then I go home after those marches and I'm just left with waiting until the next one is called. And I go back to my regular life and I get on the train the next day and I go to work. And I go to birthday parties and I go to dinners and I go on about whatever the normal life is. Meanwhile, every night I'm reading the news, I'm reading Twitter, I'm hearing more and more atrocities. But there's nothing for me to do with that anger, but just let it sit there as I continue my regular life. Because we're not doing what needs to be done. What we're seeing all around the world is people rising up and coming out and not going back in and not going about their regular life. Because that anger goes away and it gets less and less, especially when you're watching the news cycle. They're not talking about the border on the news cycle anymore. What they are talking about is to wait and see what Nancy Pelosi is going to do or what the Democrats are going to do, and wait and listen to them and let them handle it for us. I'm sorry, but they're not handling shit for us. Because Nancy Pelosi gave that $4.6 billion for the border wall and border security. And that lets me know exactly what they're about. But if we make it inconvenient for them, if we actually come out and do what we set out to do, what the people of Puerto Rico did in 15 days, we will cause that kind of a crisis where they say, actually, we got to do something about this. And early on in the presidency, I had a friend who told me as we were going out to dinner, you know, I feel like we're the German people in those pictures that are all dressed up and going to parties. Meanwhile, at the same time, there are people getting on those trains and getting taken out to concentration camps at the exact same time when everyone else is partying. And I'm not gonna be one of those people, and none of us here can be those people. We cannot allow that to happen again. And it's on us to build this, because it's real simple. You come out every time, every Saturday, until we build to every day. And you bring everyone you know, and you tell everyone you know. And then you make it your responsibility to organize everyone you know. And you come out, and we keep coming out until we build and build and build, and we get so big. And they know that the demand is just one demand: Trump, Pence must go. Trump, Pence out now. It's real simple. That's what we got to do. And I'm calling on everybody here to be a part of this. Be an organizer. Consider yourself an organizer. Next week, I'm organizing New York Mamas to come out. And that's what we're doing. So let's do it. Out now.
The fate of humanity hinges on what we do. And it does come down to what we do. There is a fascist regime wielding power in this society. As you can see, there are a few people who like that here. But this is America. It should not surprise you that a country founded in genocide and slavery has people who love this shit. But what we gotta focus on is the people who don't love this shit. The people who don't like it. And we gotta go to them with a challenge. It's been talked about here, I'm gonna talk about it again. Don't tell me you don't like Trump while you're sitting on your couch and not getting into the street. Don't tell me that you pushed the like button when you saw something about Trump Pence out now. Don't tell me that you raised your fist when the Trump Pence out now march went by. Tell me about how you joined that march when it went by. Tell me about how after you hit the like button, you got up and went out of the house and started organizing people for the next march. Tell me about how you joined the struggle to do this, how you got involved, how you became part of making this happen, because that's what's needed. Look, we have seen this in history previously.
Listen up, I just want...
Eyes up front.
Okay, hold up everybody. I want everybody to turn their face up here. I want everybody, don't be distracted. Don't be diverted. There are fascists who are going to come and try to take your attention. I want you to give your attention to Carl Dix. We came here for a purpose. We're going to hold together. We're not going to be diverted, and we're going to stay together. So I want you to keep your eyes on Carl Dix. If you need to hold hands with your neighbor to keep the space together, do so peacefully. But let's keep our face up here, all right?
All right, thanks, Santara. But look, we have seen this before. We have seen what happens when fascists take power and move to consolidate their rule. We saw it in Germany, and look, there were a lot of Germans who went with Hitler, but there are a lot who didn't go with him, but who did not actively oppose him, who didn't move when Hitler moved on the communists, didn't move when Hitler moved on the trade unionists, did not stand up and fight back when Hitler moved on Jewish people. And through that process, the fascists were able to go after one group after the other, consolidate power, and it was a horror for humanity. The same thing is going down here. Don't tell me it can't happen here. It has already happened here. It is happening right now. There are concentration camps on the fucking border. Children are being caged in them. It is already happening here, and it will happen on a whole other level unless we act to stop it.
And that's what we are doing with this Out Now movement. That's what you're a part of. But then you got to recognize your responsibility. You got to reach out to the other people who their sentiments are with us, but you got to say, your body got to follow your sentiments. Let your body follow the sentiments into the streets. Join in this movement. We got to reach to them and challenge them that, look, stopping fascism is not a spectator sport. You can't watch somebody else do it for you. Because if you try to watch somebody else do it for you, it does not get stopped. Now, we got a lot of ways to get into this. We're going to be out here every Saturday. You got to be bringing people Saturday, the next Saturday, and then the Saturday after that and after that. And then we're going forward, and we'll be laying out plans for that. We also have Out Now Fridays. People are mobilizing in different parts of the city, doing activity on Out Now Fridays to bring people into this movement and to get them out into the streets on Saturday. I want to tell you about one Out Now Friday activity that is just being put together. And that is Friday, November 1st, that's next Friday. There's going to be a special program at Revolution Books. The fascist regime must go. Harlem speaks out against Trump-Pence fascism. Harlem speaks out against Trump-Pence fascism. An urgent forum sponsored by Revolution Books. 7 o'clock at Revolution Books, which is located at 132nd and Malcolm X Boulevard. Come and check that out. And this is going to be part of bringing together a feeder march, because we're going to be marching from here every week up to Trump Tower, but we're looking to bring some folks down from Harlem to march to Trump Tower and meet up with this march. This is the kind of stuff we got to do, and Harlem ain't the only place something like this can be done. If you out on Staten Island, think about how you can do something on Staten Island to bring people into this movement. If you're out in Queens, think about how you can bring folks from Queens here. Think about how you can bring people from the Bronx into this movement. I was coming to the Bronx and Brooklyn. This is what we got to do, because we got to get Trump and Pence out now. Trump, Pence, out now. Trump, Pence, out now.
Danger, danger, there are fascists in the White House.
4,645 people who died because Mr. Trump doesn't want to help Puerto Rico. Instead, he went to Puerto Rico and threw toilet paper when we were suffering, when we were dying with no electricity, power, no water, no food, and he threw a lot of toilet paper there. I'm gonna say this in Spanish. El régimen de Trump y Pence representa un peligro catastrófico para la humanidad. Los campos de concentración en la frontera, la aceleración de la devastación ambiental, el peligro de la guerra, incluso la amenaza de una guerra nuclear, el dominio de la supremacía blanca, las turbas fascistas y los racistas asesinos en masa, la eliminación de la verdad y la ciencia, casi eliminando el derecho al aborto, el destripamiento del Estado de Derecho y los derechos democráticos y civiles. Así se está desenvolviendo el fascismo. Trump, Pence, fuera ya. RefuseFascism.org. Orange Clown, get out! Dios los bendiga. God bless you.
Trump, Pence, fuera ya! Trump, Pence, fuera ya!
So let me begin by first bestowing acknowledgement to the Lord of the universe, creator of all that exists. My question for you today, standing here in front of you all, is quite simple. Are we going to keep conforming to a system of illusions that was designed to immorally deprive us of our natural God-given rights? The world as we see it today is a manifestation of repeated immoral decisions of humans and their greed for power. We have deprived our souls and fed our egos. We forget that we are the creation of something beyond us. Look around you and marvel at the signs. We are living in a time where the remedy is the unification of all humans, regardless of beliefs, ideologies, and theories. The only way to surpass the system is the joining of forces. You and I were created from the one source of energy, so we are all interconnected beings who share lived experiences. Therefore, it is our duty to fight for the dignity and rights of fellow man. We have to look beyond ourselves and illuminate our minds. The answer is within us, so let's use our gifts. The time is now. So this is my spoken word. It doesn't have a title. We live in a world where someone is always getting killed. The sounds of sirens, the cries of families, it's all become too real. When will it stop? Till the last man drops, or him being taken away by the cops? We have to get away from systemic depravity, free our minds and release ourselves to the new age slavery. But wait, sit back, relax, and let me fill your mind with the concept that we are all one man and one man. So here, today, I take a stand, not only against the violence, but also the silence, because we must be unified in order to succeed, by helping each other as we accumulate good deeds. So wake up, realize, and see that in this world of beauty, unification is the key. Thank you, guys.
Hi everybody, I'm Christina. I'm an art student from Puerto Rico. I got here kind of late, so I don't know if you guys already did this, but I'm going to do it anyways. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Lenape land. So this is colonial settled land. Yeah, I just wanted to establish that. Okay. Thank you everybody for coming out here today. Everybody that's here, I want to thank you for changing whatever plans you had previously to be here. And everybody who's passing by, I want all of you to know that we really need to get out of whatever we're doing and take to the streets and take back our rights, because nobody is gonna do it for us. I'm from Puerto Rico, and this summer I saw what happens when everybody comes out into the streets. I felt that. It was one of the most beautiful things that I have lived in my life. And more than anything, I want the same for here. I want to be able to see that in the United States of America. Because I'm not from here. And yes, this is the land that holds my country a colony. But I want to see the same for all of you because I live here. And everybody that lives here should want that too. We can see that everywhere. We can see that in Chile. Right now, millions and millions of people going out into the streets demanding that their needs be met. In Ecuador, we see the same. In Lebanon, we see the same. So what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? We need to acknowledge our privilege. We need to get out of our day-to-day and look at things in the grand scale of things. We need to realize what is more important. We need to get these fascists out of the White House. Now. We cannot wait one more day because people's lives are on the line. There are people right now as we speak dying in concentration camps in the border. Are you going to sit by and let that happen? I'm not going to let that happen. Are you? So, if you're one of those people that's chilling at the park right now, or just passing by, trying to hide a little bit, I understand why you're doing that. It's a lot to have to face. It's a lot of responsibility to take on. But I encourage every single one of you to stop whatever it is you're doing and join us. And every Saturday thereafter, join us. And when it is every day, join us. If this was Nazi Germany, what would you have been doing? Nazi Germany is now, and Hitler is Trump. Thank you for letting me talk. We can't wait till 2020. We cannot wait till 2020.
We got him!
We gotta do that now. Waiting till 2020 is a death sentence. And if you think that any of the people that are running for president are gonna solve the issues, you are lying to yourself. We need to do this now. Let's march, y'all. Yell, I wanna see y'all yelling out in the street. I wanna see y'all happy to be out here demanding your rights. Because it is a beautiful thing. Thank you very much.
Trump, Pence, out now! 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 Trump, Pence, out!
Tell me, Pence.